fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
Picture this. Me, Reese Witherspoon, in London, ordering fish and chips so often they might start wrapping me in paper. I'm traveling with my Wells Fargo Autograph Journey card, so I earn rewards wherever I book travel. 5 times points with hotels, 4 times with airlines, 3 times on restaurants and other travel, and 1 point on other purchases. Imagine getting rewarded for eating a toad in the hole. Wait, what is a toad in a hole?
Visit wellsfargo.com/autograph journey. Terms apply.
What does it really take to survive a creative career when success is this lopsided?
When I say I didn't work for 6 years, I worked my ass off for 6 years. I was writing and pitching and taking meetings and attaching producers, and I worked all the time and just didn't make a buck on anything.
Bob DeRosa is a screenwriter who's made movies, streamed shows, and had projects shelved. And he's honest about what it takes to quote unquote make it. And the fact is, there are no shortcuts.
Every article is like somebody wrote their first script and made $1 million, or somebody got their first script made and won them the Oscar. They only talk about the giant wins. They don't talk about the day-to-day. Nobody writes an article about, I wrote 5 scripts that didn't sell, and then I wrote 1 that did. I got tired of it. I got tired of the idea that screenwriting is a lottery and everybody's going to win.
If you've ever felt like you're falling behind because you haven't sold the thing yet, this episode is for you.
The creative economy is broken, but some people are still making it work. We're here to find out how. I'm Anna Marie Cox.
I'm Open Mike Eagle, and this is Past Due. We are very fortunate to be joined by amazing screenwriter Bob DeRosa. How are you today?
I am good. Thanks for having me.
To hear. Of course. I think that you've done a thing that is very much in alignment with the spirit and purpose of our show, which is to sort of give a behind the scenes, pull the curtain back on an industry that people probably often have the wrong idea about. So we're very excited to talk to you about that today.
Speaking of pulling back the curtain, our traditional first question. Answer as specifically or non-specifically as possible, or as you like. Specifically or as not specifically as you like. When's the last time you worried about covering your nut for the month? When's the last time you were like, oh no, I don't know if I'm going to make it?
Okay, I'm going to be honest. I'm very fortunate. It's been a while. It's been years.
That's great.
But honestly, my second movie, Killers, my reps negotiated kind of a legendary deal. And so when that movie started shooting, I got a great check. I got the check that allowed me to put a down payment on a house and be comfortable for a while in Los Angeles. So I'm super fortunate in that instance. But then I've had periods in my career where I didn't work for 6 years, where I didn't know if I could stay in Los Angeles. So it's been less about, can I make my month for me in my career and my recent career, and more about, can I afford to stay in Los Angeles? And so it's a different point of view, but it's another reason I'm really interested and connected to your show, because I think it's whatever your point of view, there's very few people that are like, no problem with the way things are kind of going in this industry.
I think sometimes it's not about the month, right? It's more like, long term, does this make financial sense for me to
totally
keep doing this the way that I've been doing it? And then I think the next question after that is, how much change do I need to make if I can't keep doing it the way that I'm doing it?
Yeah. There was a period of time where I could look at my savings and go, oh, we've got a few years, like we've got some time. I can invest in myself. I can follow passion projects. I can make stuff with my friends. And then at the start of every year, then it's a matter of, well, now it's not years, now it's months. Now it's you start doing the math differently and you start going, okay, well, let's, maybe don't have every streaming channel. Like you start making choices and you're always working and always hoping that this is the year where the number doesn't go down. You at least make your year based on your work, but it's very sporadic. And then when the industry is changing it the way it is, it's so hard to plan for the future in this industry in general, but especially in this moment that we're in right now. The future feels very complicated and weird.
Well, we want to get to a place where we can get your outlook on what it looks like, but we want to start with that post that you put on Blue Sky that illuminated what the industry is like for you. Would you mind actually reading the post for us?
I sure will. Yeah. And a tiny bit of context. I started doing this when I was on Twitter, and Twitter was not a terrible place. And I would do threads about my point of view on the craft of screenwriting or my experience with the business of it. And I would get a bunch of new followers. And so I would want to sort of introduce myself in a way where not just humble brag, but also lay out the reality of what my career has looked like. And so this is sort of the introductory post I would do once or twice a year. It's actually, I did this 7 months ago and it is still up to date. So the post is my screenwriting career by the numbers. I've written 38 feature scripts, made money on 10. 4 were assignments, 2 were optioned but never sold, 1 was sold but never made, 3 were sold and made, 2 out to financiers with attachments, new script out to producers, currently writing number 39. There are no shortcuts.
I mean, this was an amazing sort of description to read. I've been involved in the writing part of the business for only maybe 4 or 5 years, honestly, and it has been the reality versus the perception of it is very stark. And I'm curious, when you share this, like what sort of reactions do you get from people? Are people surprised when they do the math on this?
I think people are surprised. I tend to get people thanking me, going, "Thank you for being honest. Thank you for giving us the actual inside scoop." Yeah, I seem to get, and maybe it's just my demeanor, the fact that I'm just nice, and I try to have a nice corner of the internet, no matter how, like even when I was on Twitter, I had like a nice little corner where everybody was nice to each other. We all chatted and we all tried to be helpful. And then Twitter got even more terrible and I had to leave. So now I'm trying to do the same thing on Blue Sky. But generally I get people that they read that and most of them are actually inspired. And that's the good thing. Like if you can hear that and go, you know what, I'm in. I'm willing to do the work. I'm in. I think it's the people that are looking to win the lottery, to write that one script and sell it for $1 million. And when they see that, those are the people that read that and go, "Ooh, I don't know about this." And those are the people that I'm hoping to kind of wake up a bit with the post like that.
For me, when I'm looking at my career as a journalist and writer for print, doing this kind of accounting is sort of terrifying. Because I just kind of look at my career as like, have I been able to keep it together? Right? Like I have always had people willing to pay me for my writing. And that's what I have to return to over and over again. Because the money balance, it doesn't work. Right? Like if I figure out how much time and energy I've spent and also how much I've gotten paid for different things, I'm just curious sort of if you can relate to any of this. In my world, sometimes I get paid literally like 50 cents a word for something that took a month out of my life, right? Sometimes I get paid more for that for something really short. It doesn't align to like how good I think something is or how close to my heart something is. And it's not like have I ever taken an assignment? Well, just for the money? Oh. I mean, I guess it's all just for the money. But it's that disconnect between what I get paid and what I think I'm worth and what I love about my work. Does that resonate for how you operate in your writing and getting
Uh,
paid?
yeah, 100%. Because the tension that comes with trying to write for a living is you start because you want to make something special. You want to make something beautiful, something that people connect to. And the tension then comes with you also need to make a living and pay the bills and put food on the table. And that tension, it never goes away. And so I've started looking like I'll take an accounting of just my body of work. And that
Mhm.
includes my movies, but I worked on a season of a television show. I made a web series. I've done 2 stage plays, um, and hundreds of hours of produced theater actually. But like I look at my body of work and it seems like the stuff that is most my heart is the least amount I've been paid.
Hmm.
And it's not that, something like Killers, it was in my heart at the time, but it's not how you get to know me as a person. And yet that paid me
Mhm.
the most money than probably all the other things combined. So you can't really look at it and go, there's not an equilibrium between the amount you get paid and the amount that your heart is represented on the page. It's always different and it never makes sense. And if you like the way you talk, like with professional, like journalists and fiction writers, sometimes you can look and go, you're getting X amount per word.
Yeah.
Screenwriting, you can never do
Yeah.
the math. You can't do the because like I
Right.
think once early in my career, I'm like, I'm gonna keep track of all the hours I work on this thing. And it was a literal stairway to madness because you just work on something on and off for years. And I have a script right now that's far down and could go next year. And I wrote it 15 years ago. And I can't
Wow.
count the amount of
Mm.
drafts and the amount of energy and the amount of like hope and you it doesn't matter. You have to let that time go. Not even including, I'm sure you go through this too, all the projects that you pitch, that you work up your take on it, and you
Uh-huh.
really believe in it, and you pitch it, and nobody wants it. All that time, you can't account for that. You don't get paid for that. When I say I didn't work for 6 years, this was after my job on White Collar and before I kind of wrote my way out of it. When I say I didn't work for 6 years, I worked my ass off
Right.
for 6 years. I was writing and pitching and taking meetings and attaching producers, and I worked all the time and just didn't make a buck on anything. And that was a really harrowing time. If it wasn't for my good deal on Killers, that's usually the period of time I think when a lot of people in this business they just quietly move away and go teach. It used to be in Austin when it was more affordable. So whatever the more affordable version of Austin is now. So yeah, everything you said resonates with me constantly.
Let's focus in on that 6-year period. Um, like you said, that's a time period, a level of difficulty and challenge that very likely drives a lot of people away from the risks of trying to be creative for a living in that fashion. And can you remember what helped you keep fighting? Because it seems like a fight. It seems like a 6-year long fight for you to keep writing, keep your focus on this manner of creativity and making a living from it when everything seemed to be no for that long.
Yeah, it kind of it's what Anna was saying, which is like that feeling I had to remember, oh, I've been paid for this. People have read my scripts and loved them and wanted to make them and stake their careers on them. So I've done it before. Then I stopped doing it and nobody wanted what I was writing. And scripts would go out and no one would care. And I was just cold. Like my career was ice cold at that point. But I knew I'd done it before. And I knew I still had stories to tell. I knew I wasn't
Hmm.
done. So I had to, man, I had to write it out. And that 6 years I was with my second manager and we didn't make a buck together. And he was a
Mm.
really good guy and he's a really good manager. He has very successful clients. And he and I were just creatively not the right fit. But he said something amazing to me when I was like at a pretty low point. He was like, you just have to write your way out of this. And he was right. That was the right advice, which is like,
Mm.
I had to stop going, oh, I'm going to write this script because I'm going to sell it and I'm going to reignite my career. I had to just start writing because that's what I do. And I know it's worked before, and write the stuff I'm passionate about. I've done theater is something I've done my whole career. Just kind of, it's my side hustle. I call it not a side hustle because you don't make any money at it. It's it's like my writer's gym. It's where I go to work out. And I did a lot of late night theater with a good friend of mine, Ben Rock, who's a director. And we did stuff at this theater in Hollywood called Sacred Fools. These late night, ridiculous, blood soaked comedies that are a blast. And eventually Ben was like, hey, I own some gear. Let's make a web series. I was like, fine, whatever. I'm not working. I'm broke. Let's do this. And we made a web series called 20 Seconds to Live that played festivals all over the world, won tons of awards. We didn't make a buck, but it reminded me, like going to these festivals and meeting, young up and coming filmmakers. It just reminded me, oh, I'm a filmmaker. This is what I do. I made a show that made people happy, and people were like, oh, we love this. Make more of this. And I was connected to the idea that I was having small wins, and they weren't lucrative wins, but I was still making stuff that people were like, it's a ridiculous blood soaked horror comedy. And yet people love it. And people were like, they were still connecting to it. And I was realized that taught me that, oh yeah, I can still make stuff. So now I just had to refocus my brain and figure out, well, how do I keep making stuff, but also make a living at it? And it still took some time. It's still taking some time. I'm still kind of working my way out of that.
I want to pause on this for a second because I think what you said is personally inspiring and I think will be meaningful to others, which is, if I'm going to kind of be corny about it, it's that when you're in that cold spot, you need to be responsible for kindling your own flame, right? Like, because other people are not going to be there lighting it. Like, one thing that I've been processing is how streaky everything is, right? Like, when you're hot, like, I guess it's LA. When you're hot, you're hot. When you're not, you're not. But like, when you're on fire in a career, like, people just give you stuff, right? Like, success builds on success, although it's not and you don't, it can feel unfair to me even while it's happening. Cause I'm just like, you're picking me because I'm on your radar. Like, I'm not necessarily the best person for this. Like, I could name other people who would be equally good at this, but I'm the person you're giving it to. And then for some reason, like, I could tell you a story about why, but like, things got colder, right? And then it feels real cold because you're not on people's radar. You're not the person that they think of necessarily, right? And that's the time when you kind of have to be like, all right, I'm not hot. I got to do it. I got to remember my own. I got to find that coal, if I'm just going to keep using a heat metaphor, and just tend to it myself, right? Like, no one else is going to be like putting stuff on the fire. It's just like me. And I love the idea that you went to theaters because it's a thing you really love. But is it something you feel like you can do again if you have to? Like, if you get through a cold time again? Do you think about that?
Yes. Because like I finally, after like a 13-year gap, I got a third movie made. And I was so fortunate. It shot in Malta right before the writer's strike. My business manager deposited my check on the first day of the writer's strike.
Wow.
So, I mean, I've been a non-voting member of the WGA for years. So I got to, pick up my picket sign and be a member again. And I had, a new movie and a new paycheck to kind of make it to sustain me during that strike, which I'm so fortunate about. But I got that payday and I remember thinking, is this going to finance the next chunk of my development and my career here in LA, or is this check going to finance my exit? And I'm still here because I went through that strike and I was invigorated by walking in circles with all these amazing artists and all these people from Oscar. I met Oscar winners and I met people who never sold a thing, and we were all together, and that was really inspiring. And so, yeah, I'm still, I still have stories to tell, and like my career is still a little bit cold. My movie didn't do great. It's fine. It's out there. I'm proud of it. But it's not like the phone is ringing off the hook. So I'm still having to kind of rekindle that fire. I think it's more about realizing, oh, I always have to do that.
Right.
Even when you're hot, you can't just go, well, that's going to just last. You have to always be rebuilding and rekindling, because when you're hot, you've got people helping you. You've got agents or editors or representatives. You've got people that are like, because they're trying to make money off you. So they're like, yeah, let's help you. And then when you go cold, those people are like, well, you do it and let us know when you're ready to start making money. And once you realize that that's the way it works, then you realize it's always me and the people I choose to collaborate with. It's always the team trying to make stuff and trying to rebuild and rekindle the fire. And also just to be aware of kind of what's happening in the industry and try to be ahead of what's next and trying to plan for it a little bit better. And part of it's just, I've been doing this for 20 years. So now I've been through enough moments of heat and moments of cold that I get that is the reality and that's the way it works. And I think when you're first starting out, you don't know that. You think you're going to get in and sell your first thing and just work forever. And maybe 1% of the professional writers do that. The rest of us, we're on a raging sea, and sometimes it's awesome and sometimes it's not. And we just have to get used to that.
This episode is brought to you by Factor.
Cold days, big goals, absolutely zero interest in cooking? Factor makes healthy eating easy with fully prepared meals designed by dietitians and crafted by chefs.
No planning, no grocery math, no what did I buy this ingredient for?
I love that Factor has quality, functional ingredients, including lean proteins, colorful veggies, whole food ingredients, and healthy fats.
And there's so much variety. Over 100 rotating meals every week, including the new Muscle Pro meals, if you're doing strength stuff.
And they support your diet, whether it's high protein meals, Mediterranean, whole ingredients, healthy fats, or more. Plus, there are no refined sugars or artificial sweeteners.
I've looked for something like this for a long time, and Factor really is the best.
It's good food that tastes great and is ready in about 2 minutes, always fresh, never frozen, no prep, and no stress. Head to factormeals.com/pastdue50off. That's 50 off. And use code PASTDUE50OFF to get 50% off and free breakfast for a year.
Eat like a pro this month with Factor. New subscribers only, varies by plan. 1 free breakfast item per box for 1 year while subscription is active.
Are you looking to reclaim your health? Tune into the Real Foodology podcast hosted by me, Courtney Swan, integrative nutritionist and real food activist. I am on a mission to transform our food system by challenging the corrupt practices that undermine our health and replace them with choices that genuinely support our well-being. Listen to Real Foodology podcast on your favorite podcast app. New episodes every Tuesday.
There's another aspect of that rekindling that I want to touch on that was particularly resonant with me. The business, when it's cold, when it's not going well, I think a thing that I've experienced and maybe you experience this too, is that when nobody is paying you to do the thing, you almost start to forget that you're good at doing the thing. Like you internalize their disinterest in paying you as, oh, it must be that the value of what I'm doing isn't great. So it seems so key that you went sideways into theater to where it's such a different scale of industry, especially if you're talking about this little fun theater experiences versus like Broadway or something like that, where you can generate an idea and have a circumstance where you can see it through and people can experience it and give you a little bit of that creative fulfillment because they're able to tell you, hey, I saw that thing and I liked it. So I'm curious if you feel like that's part of it, that you needed to be in a position to be reminded of the worth of what you do, especially because the industry wasn't giving you that validation in that moment.
Yeah, it's so hard to remember that when your career's on fire and when it's ice cold, you're still exactly the same artist who's done both. Your writing is just as good, or your music or whatever you make is just as good when you're hot as when it's cold. What's the difference between heat and cold? Momentum, luck. Sometimes your art is just a little bit better or just hits the right moment. I don't know. I don't know the difference. That's I think part of the struggle is learning, but it's not like all of a sudden we don't know how to do what we do. And so figuring out, I think that always the struggle is like, there's always like what I'm good at and the stories I want to tell, and then figuring out where they fit in the industry. And because that changes, your strategy has to change over time. So yeah, I think having those sort of I call it positive reinforcements from the universe. Like, you know, writing, I wrote a play, and like, I wrote a particular play that every time it played, somebody would corner me in the lobby and go, "That was my life on stage."
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, I obviously still know how to do this. And like, after the web series, my friend Ben and I, we took another side detour into doing audio fiction. We wrote the first narrative podcast for Shudder. And then we wrote a show, a monster movie for the ears for Audible called Catchers, which was sort of like TV meets theater, or like making a movie with no camera. It was a real fun and sidestep. And that was like the first kind of paying gigs I had out of that 6 years. And they're paying us like, especially like the first one was like, we didn't make a ton of money on that. It was better than theater money, but it was not TV money. But also you had both Ben and I who'd had 20-year careers, and we brought our A game and made something really special that 7 years later, people still write us and go, "Thank you for this thing. This blew my mind." And so those are wins, and I have to look at them as wins. And even if the bank account doesn't exactly reflect that it's a win, I feel like the universe is going, "Yeah, you still got,
Yeah.
gas in the tank. Keep going."
I heard something on a video essay. Actually, it was about plagiarism. The H bomber guy 4-hour video about plagiarism. But at one part, he's talking about how creative people don't value their own work, in part because it does come easily, and you forget over time, like, oh, like the reason why it's easy is because I'm good at it. Right? Like easy,
Yeah.
let's bracket easy. Like it can feel really hard, but like I know, and we're all had success in our careers. Like I know that I write better than your average bear, right? Like I know that I can sit down and produce something that is going to be better than what most people do, like the ways that I put words together, right? But because I can do that so consistently, I forget that that's a gift that I can use. I can kindle it. We keep on coming back to the fire metaphor, like that it's a precious thing that I have, a gift to give the world, right? Because no one's
Yeah.
paying me for it. And in part because I can do it, right? It just doesn't seem valuable, like something that almost gets back to what Mike is talking about, right? And another thing you said that makes me think about that is you mentioned the strike, and you mentioned the connections that people have to the play that you wrote. And I think, again, maybe all three of us, although Mike tours, so maybe not so much for him, but reminding myself this is not a solo art, really, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is about building connections. I may do it mostly in my own home. But that's not why I do it, right? Like, it's also not just the words on the page. Like, they can sound pretty, but they don't mean much if I don't put them out into the world. So, and then WGA strike also reminds me, like, getting out there with people. Like, what do you do to remain connected to the world? I guess that's sort of the shorter version of my long, thought that I had to process verbally.
Yeah. So how do I stay connected to the world? Because you're right. I mean, writing in particular is very solitary and you're by yourself a lot. And I think it's realizing you have a community or building a community, whether that's, other writers, other people that are sort of, we're all in it, have this vibe of all in it together. It's one of the reasons I love theater. Is theater you can't do alone. Has to be a community. And like I journal a lot, and during the pandemic, I did a lot of soul searching about, okay, the world just slowed down. I don't get to see anybody anymore. We made an entire show over Zoom, like our second audio show. We were never in the same room as anybody. And I'm like, what's important to me? What matters? And number one on my list is I want to make cool shit with my friends. And so, yeah, I want to sell a screenplay for a lot of money. But like, I'd like to also maybe make a little bit less money, but get to make that movie with people I love. And that's the priority to me. Like if I can, and my first movie was, I got to co-write a movie with Ji-Ho Lee, who directed it, and we were really good friends and we're still brothers. And like, that was one of the only moments in my career where the paycheck matched the camaraderie of working with people that I love. And that's what I'm chasing all the time. I don't feel like I'm chasing $1 million payday anymore, even though it's always nice if you can get that. I'm chasing that. Can I make a living and work with somebody that I care about and I trust and I like their taste and we want to make the same cool thing? And so to me, it's about keeping those, relationships. So like I have the script that I'm writing on my own that I'm going to take out to industry soon. And hopefully I get to work with cool people, but I may not. But I also have the things that I'm doing. Ben and I are going to write another audio show. And so Ben's one of my best friends and we get to collaborate. And if we're lucky, we get to produce it and we get to hire our friends, because we have awesome, actor friends. And so they'll come out and audition and hopefully it'll be like that whole, like, let's put on a show energy. Theater teaches you that. And I love trying to take that into every aspect of my career. And I'm not always successful, but that's what I try to do. And so, my theater company is no longer a membership company. So I don't have a theatrical home anymore. And it's sad, but it's also like, I still have this, this group of friends and this kind of industry of colleagues that I'm still trying to stay connected with and make cool shit with. So, you have to kindle that too. Your friend, the people, your community that the rest of the world that you want to connect to, you have to keep that kindled, just like you keep your own creativity kindled.
I want to ask you about another question about that Blue Sky post, or more the information in it. And it's a two-part question, but one, so you've written 38 feature scripts and made money on 10. So it's about, a quarter of the work that you've done, you've gotten paid for. In your time in the industry and the communities that you are a part of, is that would you consider that like a normal sort of batting average? Is that pretty average, you think?
That's an amazing question. I don't know. And that's part of the problem, is because writers don't share that sort of information.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Because the problem, especially with something like screenwriting, you're very isolated. So you never know. It's like, are people writing more than me? Are people selling more than me? Are people booking more jobs than me? You never know. And so I have no idea if that's I think getting 3 movies made, that's a good average, because a lot of writers, there are plenty of writers that have amazing careers that never get a movie made. So 3 movies made, I recognize that is a gift, and I'm very fortunate for that. But I have another writer friend that writes, like, he's written over 100 scripts, and he just, in like 10 years, like, the guy just cranks, and he makes me feel terrible, but he's a good person. So I'm like, I'm so supportive and happy, but like, he'll do here's what I wrote this year. And it makes me feel so lazy because I just can't compete. But also, I'm a different writer. I'm a different guy. I have a different process. Could I write more? Probably. Could I write less? Sure. I don't know. I think, I don't know. Also, yeah. I wish I knew. I wish more people shared those numbers so we could get a sense of like what's an average, like what, how many scripts do I need to write in 10 years to make a living?
That's
I don't
why
know.
this show exists.
I know. That's why I love it.
I mean, I'm being quite serious to go back to the idea of community and staying connected is I feel like productivity culture and only talking about what you've done, right, gives this illusion that keeps us apart, right? Because we do
Mhm.
feel competitive with the one person who's like, I wrote 100 scripts,
Right.
Whereas like if other people were out there sharing like the realistic picture of what they're doing, sometimes more, sometimes less, probably not more than 100 scripts, I'm going to say. But, uh, then we have a better identity as a collective group of people. And that's how guilds are born. That's actually how unions are born. Like that's how collective
Yeah.
bargaining is born. Like that's why you're hopefully getting your residuals, right? Like is because
Yep.
people were transparent at some point about what they made. I will say freelance writers, it is shitty. Like there is so much shame, I think, involved in if you're not a productive writer, that, and if you're not making money, like no one wants to talk about the times that you got underpaid. Right? Because like it feels like,
Yeah.
oh, I guess that's me. I guess that's what my writing is worth, is I was only worth that. So that's how much I got paid. And then also that keeps us from bargaining together and being like, I know you paid this other person $2 a word. How come my work is not worth as much? Also, I think we should get away from word related, like word cost per word. That's not a
Yeah.
good metric for how much something is worth. Well, I was gonna say Mike's talked about this in the music business as well, as like people not talking about what they actually make.
Oh yeah, nothing. There's such a little standard in terms of how people are compensated for anything in music that it's almost an impossible conversation to have. But what I think about when you talk about how people don't talk, um, and the shame in front of that. So, rappers, for instance, right?
Mhm.
One of the great ways we can make income is having somebody reach out to us and say, "Hey, I'll pay you to be on my song." Right? It's called
Mhm.
doing a feature, and that's a great way to make income for a lot of artists. But what artists hate to do is advertise that they're available for that, because there's this stink of desperation to it, and it's particularly in rap, which is of course a very image based uh, industry. Like nobody wants to wear their need out on social media, but that's
God,
just
it
where my
totally
head
makes
goes.
No, totally. Yeah. I feel like there's the reason nobody talks about how often they work or what they make when they do work is there's only two kind of ways to feel about it. It's either fear that I'm not making enough or survivor's guilt because I'm making more than
Mhm.
enough and I don't want anybody to know. And
Mhm.
there's not really anybody, there's no baseline of like, I'm making the same as everybody else. I feel fine. There's no vibe to that. And I think to sort of, to what you're saying, Mike, there's that feeling of like, I need to project an image of like, I'm making more than enough because that will then make me more, you know, desirable to have on, to work with. And so then, you have to feel like you have to appear like you don't need the money so that people will
Right.
then give you the money. And
Mhm.
that's just exhausting because that's not
It
our
is.
art. That's not the work. That's
And
not the work.
it's generating cognitive dissonance.
It's
Like
it's
every
bad
day.
for art. It's also just
It
bad
is.
for art, right?
Yeah,
Like
totally.
I have thought about this a lot. Like I was hesitant to start this podcast because I have shame around having had the time where I was making more than I felt like I deserved to make, right? And then having a fall off from that.
Mhm.
And it's like I've written, the thing is I tried to write my way out of it by like writing about the struggle. And I got so much good feedback about that, but it did not get me more jobs. No one's like, oh, you wrote this really great piece about how much it scared you to have your house have this water damage you couldn't afford to fix. Here's some money to write more about struggle. Like it's more, and I don't know, like it's thank God y'all aren't on LinkedIn. It's kind of an obsession of mine right now, but there's no like screenwriter, I guess, or musician reason to be on LinkedIn. That there's a thing on LinkedIn, you can put a badge on your page that says #open to work.
Yeah.
And it's like the red letter, man. It's like Hester Prynne, open to work.
So it's a red U for unemployed. Is that what it is?
I
see.
I took it down. Like I just was like, I can't do it. Like I can't have it be like my hashtag, right? Because also is something you said, Bob. I have never worked harder the past 4 years. I have produced more and self-started more and done work that I'm proud of. Done a lot of work that I'm proud of. As I have still not. Like the ember has not flashed up to a level where other people are feeding it, like, but it's that #I need work, open to work. Sorry. It technically on LinkedIn, it's open to work, which is, they must have workshopped that, man. They must have they did. They tried to find the exact right thing that wasn't like, help me.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I mean, it's like there's something specifically and it's happened in screenwriting, and it's something we really talked about a lot in the course of the last strike, which was like studios used to just take a chance. Like, this is a good idea.
Right.
Here's a low 6 figures to develop this idea and write a draft or two, and we'll see. And they don't do that anymore. They've taken the cost of development and pushed it to the artist. So now writers have to write scripts on spec and then partner with producers, and producers need rewrites on spec. And then they find a director who then wants rewrites on spec.
Wow.
And so the cost of developing our work is on our shoulders. And they just push the development. They just want the thing that's ready to go, and they can just spend money. They can just say, great, let's greenlight this and make it. And all that hard work of building up to that is on the shoulders of other people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the industry does. The industry, that's the problem, is because it's an industry and they're always trying to figure out how to cut costs and to make the people that want to work in that industry work for free as long as possible. That's how they cut their costs. So it always ends up on the shoulders of artists. And that sucks because, again, that's not the art. Those long years of development and overwork and trying to adjust to kind of the way that the business is being run, because it's still a business and they still need our work. They just don't want to pay for it in the same way they used to. And that's frustrating. And like, I've been doing it for 20 years, so I've seen how it's different. People just starting out, I don't know why they want to do it. I don't know how they look at the landscape and go, that looks like fun, but they do. Still plenty of people want to break into and want to be right where we are right now, having this conversation, and they want our problems.
Not sure how to tackle your taxes? Are you sweating the small print? You may be experiencing FOMO, the fear of messing up. The answer? Using TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it. With a personalized plan designed to help you hit your money goals. It's time to take your taxes to the max. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
If Bob's blue sky post made you feel seen, well, wait until you hear what didn't make it into the main episode.
In the bonus segment, Bob shares how a beloved project came close but never sold. Also, we may have accidentally developed a Ted Cruz biopic.
Subscribe at patreon.com/pastdue in order to hear the rest. There's something you said that I wanted to touch back on, and it relates back to the Blue Sky post too. But you were saying that basically, when it comes to talking about person's finances or successes or lack of success on social media, when it comes to career, there's pretty much only two feelings. You're either ashamed that you don't feel like it's going well enough, or you're ashamed that it's going too well. One of the things that I think is really powerful about this post is that it lays out everything just with numbers, and there's no real like there's no shame in it. Like it ends with the statement there are no shortcuts, but largely it's just a very sort of clear-eyed view of this is what has happened.
Mm.
These are my successes, these are the things that weren't successes, this is what it is. And I'm curious, like, how long did it take for you to arrive at a place where you feel like you could talk about your career in that way without feeling that shame?
I mean, specifically with this post, I think it was maybe part of coming out of that 6-year stretch when I started to feel like I kind of shifted my work and I started writing more from my heart and less from I'm trying to sell something, and the universe started responding. And when I would talk about that stuff online, people would respond in a way that they appreciated it and they were inspired by it. That's when I felt like, okay, I think these numbers are important to share, because whatever industry we're in with screenwriting, it's like every article is like somebody wrote their first script and made $1 million, or somebody got their first script made and won them the Oscar. They only talk about the giant wins. They don't talk about the day to day. Nobody writes an article about, I wrote 5 scripts that didn't sell and then I wrote one that did. Nobody writes a story about that because it's not exciting, but that's the reality. And so I don't know. I got tired of it. I got tired of just that selling the idea that screenwriting is a lottery and everybody's going to win. I'm like, oh gosh, it's just, I don't know. It was the mix of being bummed and I guess also feeling like my career was back on sort of a trajectory I could be proud of. And I could look at my career and go, yeah, 38 scripts, made money on 10. That means 28 scripts. 28 scripts taught me something if I did them right. And a couple of them like taught me what not to do, but that's still a lesson. And I don't get paid for that lesson, but it's still important.
Do you think that it's possible to have the revelation about the cold streak or whatever without getting from the outside hot again? I mean, it sounds a little bit like you did. It sounds like you found this energy in your stage productions, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I've been thinking a lot about how it's an internal shift and it can't be external to feel like, okay, you know what? Like I am coming out of this time. Like the I am coming out of this time doesn't have to be a big check. It can be like, no, I just know in my heart that a period where I wasn't being rewarded in the way that I feel I could be. I don't know quite how to frame it, but if it's an internal shift as much as an external one, and could you have made that shift earlier, or do you think it's possible for people to just do that work and get to a different way of thinking about their career without outside, like, external reward?
Yeah, I think the trick is that money is always the arbiter. Like money is the how we track our momentum. And luckily I've always, because you talked before on about how you connect to the world. I can feel like my momentum is shifting, not by the fact that somebody wrote me by a check, but just what my friends feel when they read a new script. And so I think it's really hard to do it by yourself. But those very small indicators, like the thing that changed for me in that 6 years in addition to the theater and kind of working with Ben and doing that cool stuff, is I had a script idea and I thought it was kind of small, but my wife and my best friend Josh were like, no, this is cool. You should write this. And I wrote it and I'm like, my manager's not going to like this one. And I showed it to my writers group and they were like, the feedback was very positive, but it needed work. But they were like, yeah, keep going on this. And I was like, if my reps don't like this script, is this script good enough for me to plant my flag in the sand and say it's time for me to move on? And it was instant. They were all like, yes.
Mm.
And that was like, it was just a small little circle of validation from people I trusted, the people that loved me, but that also weren't going to let me phone it in. They were a good group of friends that way. And I showed that script to my manager and he didn't like it. And I told him we can't work together anymore.
Wow.
And that led to me leaving my agent right before they became the hottest agency in town, which that was a dark moment. But and it wasn't just because my 5 friends said it was good. It's because I knew it was good.
Mm.
And I had this feeling, this energy that it was going to be something special. And it still hasn't been made. It's one of my 2 projects that's very close. But so nobody's written me a check in 6 or 7 years. But there's a director who's passionate to make it. There's producers. There's now an actress. If people read something and go, this makes me want to collaborate. This makes me want to take some of my valuable time and put it towards this. That sends the message to me that I'm on the right track.
Mm.
And so I think it's a matter of looking yes, money is important. And yes, money is the ultimate kind of scorekeeper. But if I'm getting other sorts of positive reinforcement from other artists, that's just as valuable to me. So I think it's really hard to do it by myself in my room. But I love artists. And when they say, yeah, this is special, keep going. That's how I fill myself up, even when times are lean.
Bob, as we wrap up here, and I don't think we've ever had a screenwriter on before, so this might be a little challenging.
Josh.
Okay, Josh, but Josh is also very public facing in a bunch of different ways.
Yes.
But one of the most important things we do here on the pod is give our guests a platform to plug stuff that people can check out. So if there's anything that's especially important for you to point to, we'd love to give you the floor to tell people.
Thank you. You can go to bobderosa.com and there's links to all my work. If you're an Audible subscriber, you can download Catchers for free, which is about two small town dog catchers who answer a call for a wild animal attack and find themselves up against a pack of monsters. And that's free if you're an Audible subscriber. But probably most importantly, and the thing I'm having a lot of fun with is I have a Substack called All Is Not Lost, and which is kind of a play on a screenwriting trope. And if what we talked about today is not bumming you out and you'd like more of it, then you probably should read my Substack because I've read a lot about my career and about writing my way out of that 6-year slump and the state of my career now and what's in the future. So I'm really enjoying that. So yeah, please check me out. Bob DeRosa, writer on Substack. So find me there.
Thank you so much. You've been a delightful guest and really personally inspiring. So I'll look you up on Substack, and I just really appreciate your time and appreciate your experience.
Thank you so much. I'm such a fan of the show, and I think you both are doing really killer work, and I'm really happy you invited me to be a part of it. So thank you. I'm inspired. This has been a great time.
Thank you. And we've had a bunch of these conversations with people about how hard it can be to make a life, particularly as a creative. And I think that the conversation that we've touched on today with this idea of how to stay kindled, how to keep your own personal heat going when the industry is sort of cold on you, I think is really important. So I thank you for helping us get there today. I think that's going to be something that we chew on for a while.
Thank you.
Past Due is hosted by Anna Marie Cox and Open Mike Eagle. It's produced by Andrew Steven. You can find more at pastduepodcast.com. Help support the show by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/pastdue. You'll get bonus content, extended interviews, and more. As always, if you like what we're doing, another way to help is by subscribing, sharing the show, and leaving us a review. Thanks for listening.
Stop doom scrolling. Start decoding the tech, rewiring your week and your world. The Interface is the BBC's fiercely informed, fast, and funny take on how technology is changing everything.
Hosted by journalists Tom Tremaine, Karen Howe, and Nikki Wolf, each episode unpacks week by week the unfolding story of how technology is shaping all our futures. No guests, no jargon, just three sharp voices debating the tech news stories that matter, whether they shook a government, broke the internet, or quietly tipped the balance of power.
As TikTok shifts geopolitics, Trump drives digital shockwaves, Elon Musk expands his space internet empire, and AI reroutes the routines of everyday life. The trio asks, what world are the tech titans building for us? And do we want to live in it?
Find The Interface from the BBC wherever you get your podcasts.
Not all darkness is dangerous. Sometimes it's the doorway to becoming whole. On the brand new podcast, The Shadow Sessions, hosted by me, Hibab Al-Faqih, a psychologist and trauma expert, we shed light on the hidden corners of the human experience. Through raw, unfiltered conversations from the edge of healing, The Shadow Sessions invites you to do the deeper work that leads to real change. Follow The Shadow Sessions wherever you're listening now.